So most of the tactical guide to women is focused on the present, things we've been talking about, like noticing things in the present, noticing present behavior and characteristics. And I was really curious, how much weight do you think we should give someone's past when we're considering marrying them? I mean, people do change, as you know better than most people, but how much investigating into their past should we do? And just more generally, how much weight do you think we should give a person's past when we're considering, settling down with them?
That's a really interesting question. I like that question. I think you definitely need to pay attention to people's past, and things to look for. Look for. I think I talk a little bit about this, but maybe I should have talked more about it in the book. Is looking for patterns in people's relationships over time. And I do talk a little bit about how she relates to her ex-boyfriends, because how she relates to her exes is how she's going to relate to you someday. So if she's calling them names and they're all the worst person in the world, well, guess what you're headed for. But if she still has respectful relationships with her exes and she speaks about them in admiring terms, then okay, that's a good sign. But as far as people's past, sometimes people have pretty adventurous past, and particularly guys. We're knuckleheads when we're in our late teens and early 20s because our brains are not fully developed and we do stupid things and make stupid decisions. Sometimes we hurt people. I was when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was not a particularly nice guy, and I did some things that I wasn't real proud of, as I'm sure a lot of people have, but I outgrew that. And so by the time I was 30, those things weren't really a factor because they hurt me. Meaning when I looked back at them, these are things that I did not want to repeat. So to the extent that my wife knew about them, and it's not like I went out and committed crimes or anything. It's just relationship stuff and me not being particularly good to other people. To the extent that she knew about them, she could say, well, he's clearly not happy about these things, and he clearly has changed and made intentional changes. And I think that looking at people's past mistakes, if they can speak about them as if they're part of their history and they learn from them, and by God, they're not going to do that again, then that's actually kind of a good thing to have those mistakes in your past. Now that you mentioned the question, I wonder if it's actually better to have somebody who has some mistakes in their past, because those are character building.
Certainly. No, I would certainly agree with that. And as long as we're exploring this terrain, another question that was on my must-ask list, what is your take on the cliche of men needing to, quote-unquote, sow their wild oats before settling down? And I would say that even applies to a lot of modern women. There's this idea out there that, you need to go a little crazy for a while, date a lot of people, whatever, in order to sort of get that exploration out of your system, so to speak. I mean, do you think there's anything to that? Do you think that's necessary for modern men and women in general? What's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about what a high school kid does, when we have high school relationships, we're trying on relationships. We've never done it before. Have no idea how they work. They all turn out bad. And 99% of them turn out, well, not bad necessarily, but they don't work because we're choosing based on the wrong criteria. Get into your 20s. Maybe you're still trying on relationships, but maybe they last a little bit longer. And then, by late 20s, early 30s, you should have some sense of what works and what doesn't. And that's really what I think you need to be looking for, is this person's past relationship that you're considering. Have they actually learned from them, or are they just doing the same thing over and over again? So yeah, definitely there's a lot of trying on relationships that people should be doing.
In your therapeutic practice, in your office, do you have a lot of guys coming in who have this feeling that they wish they'd gone a little crazier in their youth, or do you not really encounter that much?
I've not heard a lot about that, no. Some people, the regrets that I hear in my practice, because I do work with a lot of guys, it's more along the lines of getting married too soon, committing too soon before they found their purpose. And their regrets, at least in my experience, tend to be more around not fulfilling their purpose as much as they wish they had when they were younger, which would have put them at a better place by the time they're talking to me.